It's Red Pill Diaries. The sunrise behind me and the moonrise is on this side. But you probably can't make it out. I can tap the screen. Oh, you can just see a wee dot to the side of my head now. No. Or maybe not. It's gone again. Anyway. My topic for today is it's going to have to be Karen's. So what it's really about is to describe really what a Karen is. And this just falls into the, oh, there's a black woodpecker on that tree in the middle of those. Oh, he's gone on the other side now, he's hiding from me. Anyway, a Karen, this was a German Karen, this one. Oh no, it might have been Slovenian. No, she was German, yeah, or Austrian, sorry. Could be either. Anyway, there was I'll just give you the scenario first, then I'll go into an analysis of it, right? So the scenario was, Karen was next to me in the line. There's a guy and a girl serving. I can't help how wide the window is. Basically, it's about 2 meters apart, right? And but when two people are standing there, that makes it like 1.5 meter apart. Not quite enough. The guy before me, I'm in line. There's two lines, right? I'm in line, other guy's in line. You can just picture it. Two staff standing next to each other, and when you get to the front of the line, guess what? You're only about 1 meter away from them, and they're not wearing masks behind the counter. And this is what gets me into why people are called Karens. And in case they worry about it, like, I understand there's a lot of these what they call adverbs, where you join a new word together, like conspiracy theorist. That's an example. It's a label. Sometimes the labels work quite well, like a tree hugger, for example. I don't mind it. I want to protect trees. I don't mind being called a tree hugger. But it is to put people down, right? Because some people want to go in the forest and fornicate with trees, and I think it's called a botophiliac. You know, I understand why these certain phrases. So conspiracy theorists as well, that's used to shut down people who have an alternative view on things, and all too often those views are true, right? Oh, by the way, I'm in the Lake Bovets area. No, sorry, Lake Bohim area, near Lake Bled in Slovenia at the moment. Me and my dog are just having a walk up to a really beautiful waterfall that we've been to before up here, called Slap Savits, I think it's called. Anyway, I'll carry on with my story. So Karen came along and was in the line next to me and got to the front and just decided to, no, you must be socially distancing, and I am close to you social. So she went through all her little pantomime, because that's what it was. This was a, hey everyone, look at me. Everyone, look, I'm being by the rules, everyone. So the guy behind, I'm like looking at her, and the guy behind me shaking his head like, what a fucking retard, right? But not really. I mean, this is intentional retardation, right? This was a pantomime that was being put on, an actual live play right in front of our faces. And the thing is, the reason why I say play is because when it really comes down to it, it didn't really matter to her, because at the end of this situation, she walked toward. Well, first of all, she gets fucking rude to me in the first place. This is why I started making fun of her, making a fool of her, right? Because she says, please, you need to keep the distance from between us and... Where the fuck am I going to go? I'm getting served in the counter next to your one, where the guy was previously who was getting served, who was next to you, who had no issue. And now all of a sudden you've manufactured an issue, because I'm testing out the mosquito spray as well that's there, and I ended up buying it. But she didn't. But it's like a natural mosquito spray. It smells pretty good, but it smells pretty bad too, so it should work. Well, it seems to have worked. Anyway, she says to me, that I need to keep my social distance and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh my god, okay, batshit crazy person. I said, what are you going to do about the attendants? They're only 1 meter away from the front of her, you see. And then she ends up kind of drifting, and she's walking kind of backwards towards me and the guy behind her. And we both, me and the guy behind her, shake our heads. I think he's from Holland, or Dutch, Netherlands. So we're shaking our heads, and then I go, ugh, and I step back as if there's a force field. And then she starts, seriously, she finishes what she needs to do, and she's just thinking, like what most selfish Karens are thinking like in their life. Me, I, me, I. Let's look at this beautiful mountain behind me while we talk about Karen. So, yeah, all she was absorbed in is her own thoughts. And that's the thing that, if you look at all asshole types in the world, and Karen being the newest asshole type that exists, self-righteous asshole hypocrite that exists. There's so many types of them, so many different labels for them. I love using these labels. My lefty liberal, see, I'm doing it again. Friend of mine yesterday came up with I'm not a righty either. I'm against both sides. He was bringing up a thing about the use of these terms, and tree hugger was in there. He liked to use, the one that I use a lot, and it's perfectly descriptive. It's called a virtue signaling, because that's what you're doing. To me, it's a verb, or it's an adverb, or whatever. You're describing something. I'm not going to sit there explaining what you're doing every time. Well, what you're doing is drawing attention to yourself, taking a cause that you don't actually believe perfectly in yourself, but you're expanding that cause as if you do believe in it, and showing everybody, hey, look, everyone, I believe in this cause. It's a lot longer, isn't it? It's just quicker to say you're a virtue signaling hypocrite, or whatever it might be. So anyway, here we go, virtue signaling hypocrite right here. So she was showing the whole world how she liked to obey these rules, while breaking them about 3 times while in the line, drifting back and forth towards me and the other guy. And then also the fact that she's facing the woman who was serving her, and probably even within 1 meter of the guy who was serving me at some stages. She was drifting along the counter, and then at the end of it, completely consumed with thoughts of her own life and what me is going to do today, she walked straight towards me and almost bumped into me, and I jumped back to make it obvious. I was like, just to make a clown of her, because she was a fucking clown. So but again, the guy behind the counter, of course, he works in tourism, doesn't want to make a fool of anyone. He's going to be completely neutral. He says, no, I don't want to judge. I'm like, yeah, I know you don't want to judge, but she was within 1 meter of you the whole time, or your colleague the whole time, and she was within 0 centimeters of me when she basically walked towards me on her way out. All of a sudden, the rules didn't matter anymore, and this is why so many people find these rules ridiculous, because we see videos of politicians wearing their masks, and then off camera the mask comes off. We don't want to be led by a fucking pantomime. If something's going to happen and you want to be as Nazi to us, you want to be like Nazis to us, you're going to be Nazis to yourself. So I want to see no rules get broken ever. If they do, someone's profusely fucking apologizing from the people who are such Karens in the first place, that they really believe it makes a lick of difference if we delay this pandemic, because that's all we're doing. This most likely engineered pandemic, we're just delaying it. Because here's a simple fact: there's approximately 200 countries in the world. Slightly over 200, about 215 if you count territories. Slightly under, about 198 if you just count countries on their own. But there's about 200 countries, right? Good luck getting all of those countries to agree at the same time to do something. That'll never happen, right? And even if it does happen, there'll be countries that'll have it poorly executed. In other words, you will never get down to having less than 1 person with COVID-19 again, right? Unless the whole world accepts some vaccine, and I just don't believe that. One, I don't believe that there's the moon again. See, between the trees, looks so good. I don't think I can. Yeah, you can see it between those trees, right at the V at the bottom. Anyway, this has been the moonrise. So, yeah, I don't like fake concern. Like, oh, are you all right? When they actually don't give a fuck. And then you see people walking away. That's fake concern, right? And at the same time, I just don't like fake anything. And I definitely don't like being told what to do by other people when I know that the thing they're trying to get me to do is futile in the first place. Now I use my mask when I go in the store just to make life easier, isn't it? We're already being hindered enough for all this bullshit. It's not going to make a lick of difference. So my point before was, you're not going to get down to one person. I understand that they say, let's soften the curve, right? But actually, from what we can see so far, all we did was take what would have been a lump, because that's the curve, is so many patients admitted to hospital. But what actually happened is we end up making a pit hole. So now there's a backlog of people wanting to go to hospital around the world for different things, including myself, who wanted to get a scan done at the time. And then I also had my bloody knee. I got my knee surgery done, and the recovery for that. So a lot of other things took a sideline, and what we saw was empty hospitals around the world, right? So that slack needs to be picked up somewhere. So what they've basically done is they've created the curve, because the curve will happen anyway, even if you didn't have COVID-19, because you've gone and effectively emptied out hospitals for a couple of months around the world. And emptying those hospitals out has created a backlog, and that backlog is the slack that you're going to have to pick up now. But Karens of the world will say nothing about that, because they're programmed to think like a group. Now, there you go, there's one that Orwell himself made up, groupthink. It does exist. Why are you going to beat around the bush? And so people have a problem with these things. It's like, well, funny, I've had to put up with tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists all my life from arseholes like this, who don't like the use of these terms. Yet the second that you come up with it's like that thing. I have to say, I have definitely been following the right-wing humour more than left-wing humour. In the past, during Bush's reign, I used to follow the opposite. Because, as the right say now, the left can't meme, right? And it's so true. They just haven't got the humour. What they did is they traded in their humour tokens for some virtue signalling tokens, and now they're not fun to be around, you know? So, as we walk continuously towards this waterfall, my aging dog, look at these massive boulders that have fallen down, and they all have trees growing out of them. Look, see? Anyway, so yeah, back to Karen. My only issue I had, the fact that she was breaking her own rules within seconds of saying them, which means the fear wasn't truly there. And what I said to the guy at the counter was, you know, he said, you might not be, I said, I don't mean you should judge. I said, I'm just saying, I don't want to be told what to do by some complete stranger on my holiday. But if she's that concerned, why is she standing 1 meter from you and your colleague? Why is she drifting over to me at the end of it? And furthermore, why is she come on holiday? If you really know that you don't want to be around people, just fucking stay at home. Just quarantine yourself. I mean, I don't have anything against, and this is when it comes to the worldwide pandemic. My point that's leading on to is the people that are at risk, and I said this from day one. I don't quite know if I said it in one of my videos, but it's irrelevant. I thought it from day one. I said it to people from day one. I just don't know if I recorded it from day one. But it doesn't make a sense to do any lockdown, because this curve you're going to have to deal with potentially at some stage anyway. That as far as a lockdown is concerned, the smartest thing to have done would be to quarantine the sick, like you do during quarantine. That's what quarantine's about, is quarantining sick people, not the whole healthy population out there. And then what you would have done is said, right, if you're at risk, instead of spending trillions of dollars, since they're prepared to cost the economy trillions and cost businesses, small businesses, billions and billions of dollars as well, then it would have been a better idea for governments to say, right, we're going to quarantine the sick at no cost, put them in hotels, whatever it is. That means hotels, instead of going out of business, still make money. People would complain that government money is getting spent on it, but, you know, you could probably, I don't know, there's a number of solutions you could work out, like a home quarantine, whatever it might be, and you get paid a subsidy. So instead of the hotel getting paid, you get paid for being at home, missing your job because you're trying to keep everyone safe, instead of everyone going out there and infecting everyone. There's one point. I'm still saying that, by the way, these would be pointless at the end of the whole term. They would be pointless because the disease is still going to get its way around the world just like every other disease does, right? If it spreads this easy, because it looks like it spreads easier than things like polio did, right? So you're not going to do anything about that. That means it's going to keep on coming back and keep on coming back until 0 people have it. Because the fact is, it came from an infection of 1 person. So unless you're going to sort out all those 198 countries, or 215 in total for territories, to do the same as what you're doing at the same time you're doing it, to eradicate the disease totally, which will never happen, because even the countries that take part in it, not all countries are born equal as far as getting their shit together. Can you really see somewhere like Uganda planning this out properly and testing and everything? Give me a break. It's not going to happen. So yes, the only thing you could do to reduce the curve, to flatten the curve, would have been, and still is, it still might be cheaper over the long run, to effectively just quarantine the sick and quarantine the at risk. So so you can apply if you're at risk. You have to have proof, obviously, from a doctor or something like that, whatever, because or else the system would get abused, and then you end up with enforced socialism, people claiming money just to sit at home doing fuck all. I'm not into that either. So yeah, you'd have that kind of system. You'd go to your doctor, they'd say, yep, at risk. You could go to your doctor for free. The doctor visit would be covered to get your test, to say that you are at risk. And then by a certain date, it would be a date, right? We need to get everyone tested up until a certain date, and then that's the date that everyone needs to be quarantined by in every single country. Once that, sorry, you would start quarantining the sick straight away, but I'm talking about the at-risk. You would have a certain date as well. And then what would happen is you would go through the period of whatever incubation period or something that this thing takes. And now, of course, I'm not a medical person. I'm just going by logic here. I don't give a fuck if you are a medical person. It goes by logic that if you have even 1 person infected anywhere in the world after all this effort that we go through, you're back to square one again, because that was square one, and you'll be back there again. It just makes perfect sense, right? So yes, everything we're doing is completely fucking futile, completely pointless. And if I have worked this out from day one, then the government would have worked this out from day one. They would also understand this. And that tells me that besides the virus being basically planted on purpose, either to shame a nation, as I said, I did mention this before, that's right, one of my earlier videos on it, where I think I called it the Holocaust, and so I used words like that, the Holocaust, so look that up. It might be on the other channel, it might be on the Cryptoversity channel, but anyway, look it up anyway. So basically, where am I going again? Would have made no difference. Yeah, basically would have made no difference. Oh yeah, that's right. So I can see that not only is it something that is, the scientists said it couldn't be, the way the proteins looked, they could tell it wasn't cloned proteins, blah blah blah. Other scientists said different things, like no, you would still have to get that effect. Again, you don't see them openly debate, and I trust the ones that say, you know what, I'll have an open debate, because that means that you can stand by your science, doesn't it? If you shy away from open debate, it means that you're scared that your science doesn't stack up against another scientist. Forget about arguing on camera like some of these doctors do to just themselves, like I'm doing right now, right? So just, you know, you can logic check everything I say. You can't fact check it, but you can logic check it. It doesn't make sense. Oh, no, it doesn't make sense. Why doesn't it make sense? Say in the comments. You know, have a discourse back and forward, but when you don't have any discourse going on, it means you're scared. It means you're scared that your arguments cannot stack up against the whatever competition, the other side, whatever it may be. Another big massive rock right there that fell down at some stage. Imagine listening to these fall at the time. Anywho, so yeah, so the thing I said back then is as other scientists agreed, the virus, even if it wasn't engineered in the way that you imagine engineering to happen, even if it was just accelerated, in other words, you have a bunch of creatures in a lab, right? And you know that the transference might take hundreds of years, come from this animal to that animal, and you purposely rush it along. That's still engineered. It's still natural progression for the virus itself. It went through a natural stepping stone. Now, this is just an example of one of many things that it could be. It can be. So what I'm saying there is non-lab modification, as far as you're not sitting there with microscopes and little prodders and taking, I don't know how it's done, taking the DNA from other or the RNA from other viruses. If you do it at a more simplistic level, it still would be classed as engineering, right? That's my point. So this could have been to the FEMA government. It could have been a bunch of governments sticking together to basically screw over their collective population, because in one of my other theories that I had a while ago, all of the governments could be in cahoots, and that's what I said as the title of that video. We just don't know. They all seem to protect these pedophiles and these blood drinkers and all crazy sort of people in the world, like your Jeffrey Epstains and Ghislaine Maxwell of the world, who are, by the way, I just want to mention this one right now, who are sacrificial lambs. Sometimes sacrificial lambs are taken from near the top of the pecking order, and believe me, they won't be the richest up there. And sometimes they're taken from the bottom. What we're going to see in this future, if she doesn't get killed so obviously before she can spill the beans on a whole bunch of people, when you see people like Bill Clinton going down, you know it might be serious. There might be a bit of truth to it, right? But unless you see people like him get put down, it's bullshit. It's all fake. Because when I say fake, they could be still pedos. They would have done what they've done. But as far as the whole case being put together, that would be fake. Because that if there's that much fear in Hollywood for exposing pedos, it must mean it's ingrained. It must mean it's like an epidemic, right? The proportions of it happening, it must be epidemic, right? So if you only see a few people going away at the top, and then a lot at the bottom, like maybe your millionaire level people, and just fairly well known, and then a couple of scutters as well, just average Joe public that was involved. Yeah, it's bullshit. It would need to be thousands of people all around the world at high levels, like your Bill Gateses of the world, people like that at that level, to know that they're really, this is actually a true investigation, and it's not just something to throw the lions, a distraction story with a few sacrificial lambs that are getting thrown on from various different levels of the pecking order, because they'll all sacrifice their own, these kind of people, Anyway, so at least I've talked about that, got that out of the way. I've been thinking for a while. And yeah, this Karen situation is just ridiculous. It doesn't have to stop. It can carry on forever. I can't be bothered arguing about it, It's going to be what it's going to be. But I really do believe the world has been, look at this mountain here. I really do believe the world has been shut down to profit the huge corporations, because even here in Slovenia, the shops that stayed open were the big ones, like Hofer and Interspar. It's the biggest size spar you get, Mercator and stuff like that, right? And the small stores, all the small ones that are owned by small businessmen or smaller businessmen have a franchise like that. They end up losing shitloads, and they lose everything. And what ends up happening is, well, just like the situation with the banks. The banks, 2008, when people couldn't pay their mortgages because the banks got bailed out instead of them with their taxes. Well, the same thing is kind of happening now. You need to just use one store. What store is that going to be? Your local one that needs the business, and then you don't centralize all the infection? No, we want to centralize the infection into one area, so that everyone's coming through that same area. All right, just think about this for a second, whether it's a big town or a small town, everyone's coming through that same area. So if the infection does happen, you've all come past the infection hotspot. Or if they put out a tracking app later on, it's you've been detected as being in the same area with someone with COVID-19. You're now at risk. I parked here a while ago. That's right. I can't go up all this way. That's a massive walk. Okay. I remember I parked here after some truck driver was coming up and made me squeeze into the side of the fucking road, and I scraped my little chrome wheel cover things. Anyway, I'm going to walk back in this direction, I think. These nice old barns and homes here. Okay, round the other way, Rumble, come on. Yeah, so I would say it was to basically feed the corporations while sticking a death nail in. The term is death knell, K-N-E-L-L. I don't know why I say death nail sometimes, like death nail in a coffin. Death nail is more like a ring, I think it is. Anyway, moving on. The billionaire corporations will continue to do well. They'll actually get more business than usual because they'll get all the business from the places that are now shut down, that can't open. So while they become hotspots for spreading infection, they also become very wealthy, getting all the money that would have gone to those small stores. And the small stores, guess what happens to them? They go out of business. So communities have to go further to get their groceries, whatever it might be. That means an overall increase in the consumption of fuel. I think you might get what I'm saying here. I'm just giving you an example. There's so many spin-offs for large corporations to get richer and richer when you cause a fake lockdown situation like this that is not actually intended to do anything, because they know that nothing can be done. They can't flatten the curve. They can slightly flatten the curve, but they've already failed at that. As I say, they created a dip. Now the flattening the curve will be impossible, because whenever it hits, it will be noticeable, more noticeable, because of the backlog that they caused. So do you see what I'm saying? Every time you look around, all you see is incompetency and buffoonery, and that incompetency and buffoonery magically happens to help the extremely rich. Wow, what a surprise. Where have we seen this before? Pretty much every single time anything happens ever. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Yeah. I've been Craig, you've been you. This has been Red Pill Diaries. Bye.